President Trump calling Putin's latest deadly strikes on Ukraine, quote, disgusting, threatening now to punish Vladimir Putin finally with sanctions that Trump had not wanted to do. Now he's talking about them more, but he is admitting that they may not matter.
I don't know that sanctions bother him. You know, they know about sanctions. I know better than anybody about sanctions and tariffs and everything else. I don't know if that has any effect, but we're going to do it.
Well, first of all, we'll see if he does do it, right? Senate had a bill, bipartisan. They wanted to go ahead with it. Trump didn't want to. They had it. They wanted to go with it. He didn't want to. So if he does go ahead with it, that will matter. But the context here, of course, is Putin moving forward. Russia now claiming it's captured a key eastern Ukrainian town. And this town had been really, I mean, look at it, it's completely destroyed. The whole tragedy of this fighting over land so utterly destroyed. But this town had been Ukraine fighting to hold it for 18 months. OK, so 18 months of intense fighting. That's why there's nothing left. But now a Russian flag is flying on top of a ruined building there. And in Kyiv, Russian missiles and drones killing at least 16 people, including a 6-year-old boy and his mother over the past day. Out front now, retired Army Lieutenant General Ben Hodges. And General Hodges, so do you think that these sanctions, if Trump moves forward with them, and that's why I was explaining, right, he's flirted with the idea before and not done so. But these additional sanctions, which would require basically sanctioning other countries that are buying Russian oil, they're kind of complex to do them. Would they make a difference to Putin?
I think the only thing that will really change his thinking, Aaron, is serious economic pressure that would degrade or limit Russia's ability to generate finances to pay for their war effort. So these sanctions, if the president does move forward and put really what are secondary sanctions on countries that would be buying Russia's oil, and we're talking about China and India right. Mainly, that could be significant. But I think the Russians are showing with their attack last night that they don't respect these threats from the president. They seem skeptical. And I think most of us are skeptical until the president really does follow through on this.
Right. Sort of believe it when we see it. OK, let me just ask you about this. You know, Trump gave Putin 10 days about a ceasefire, right? I'm trying to remember how many days ago, 10 or 12 or 14 or whatever it was 52 days, right? So now if you take the new deadline of 10, it's now 8 days away, right? Again, we'll see what we see. But Julia Davis, who does this amazing job tracking Russian media, points out the reaction on Russian state television to this latest ultimatum. Let me play it.
We aren't going to be extras in Trump's show. We won't be doing that. We respond to any ultimatums with profanities. Using the language of ultimatums with us is futile and useless.
Is that essentially true?
Well, first, let me say Julia Davis is terrific. I follow her very closely, what she does. She's very good. I think that what we're seeing, not only people like the gentleman you just heard there, a Russian lawmaker, but also the attacks that have happened every night since President Trump's ultimatum back about 17 days ago, when he said 50 days that Russia had to move to the negotiating table. Everything coming from the Russian side indicates that they have no respect for the United States or for this administration. They don't believe that we're actually going to follow through on any of this. And they also were pretty confident that the sanctions regime, even if there was a decision to actually do this, the enforcement, it's very hard to do. And, you know, the EU's sanctions commissioner has said that they've got nothing from the United States since January in terms of cooperation on sanctions. So I think this is why the Russians feel, let's say, cocky about their situation.
General Hodges, I appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity.
All right. And now tonight, we have a special report on the ground from our Nick Payton Walsh. He's there in Ukraine tonight, looking at the brutal and deadly impact of Putin's latest strike.
When wars kill for years, names bleed into lists without faces, but each loss still burns a black hole in the worlds they left behind. Timur was aged 10. He was visiting his grandmother in Kramatorsk. He really wanted to see her when a 250-kilogram Russian bomb hit her top-floor home. It was 4:40 a.m. on July the 22nd, and Timur slept alone in the spare room. Toys flipped up on the roof. His mother Nastya had left them together that night and was due to take Timur home to Kyiv the next morning.
Но он сказал, что он хочет остаться. Я говорю, да нет, сыночек, поедем, уже по-любому поедем. В этот момент меня дома не было, к сожалению. Я не знаю, почему и какие силы меня отвели от этого, но я должна была быть вместе с ним там. И за это я себя очень сильно виню.
С днем рождения! С днем рождения!
Timur grew up in war, born in 2015 when Vladimir Putin was also annexing towns while talking peace. His father, Yevgeny, playing with him here, was killed fighting the Russians near Liman 26 months ago. When Nastya's sister rang at 5 a.m, she sensed it meant more loss, and at first hung up, didn't want to take the call.
Маму забрали, а Тимура ищут под завалами. И все, и с того момента я как во сне.
At the scene, rescuers had pulled Timur out, and here are their desperate efforts to resuscitate him.
А потом, как новый глоток надежды, когда кто-то из военных вышел и сказали, что у него есть пульс, и его откачивают. И все эти 40 минут, пока его откачивали, я молила просто Господа Бога за то, чтобы Он дал ему жизнь. Но чуда не случилось. И я не смогла подняться туда, и я сразу поехала к маме в больницу.
Timur was the only one to die that night, and is buried on the edge of Kramatorsk, where the graves are ready for more, and the skyline often loud. Nastya remembers their last moment together.
Знаете, такая какая-то очень теплая последняя встреча. Ну, как последний момент с ним был. Мы с ним бесились, я там ему показывала, как я ему в детстве, какие массажи ему делала, там все, смеялись. И все.
Желаю вам любви красивой, желаю вам семьи счастливой.
Он очень любил всех животных, детей. Его дома, там в Киеве, ждут его 2 крыски, которых он безумно любил. Постоянно мне звонил, спрашивал: мама, ты клетку помыла? Ты их покормила? У них вода есть? Очень заботливый, очень светлый мальчик, очень.
As towns fall and deadlines pass, remember Timur Grigorenko, aged 10, who knew only war, whose teacher said he spoke up when girls were picked on, who had 2 pet rats, and who really wanted to stay with his grandmother on the night a Russian airstrike killed only him as he slept. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Kramatorsk, Ukraine.